Good evening and welcome to WION. I'm Aisha Sindhu. The breaking news coming in at this point. Sources are telling WION that Palestine has recalled its envoy to Pakistan, the very same man who shared a stage with the globally designated terrorist Hafiz Saeed. Sources say that Walid Abu Ali is no longer the Palestinian envoy to Pakistan. That's the big story coming in this hour. Visuals on your screen from Rawalpindi yesterday. The man highlighted is the Palestinian envoy to Pakistan, Mr. Ali, who was invited to this rally organized by the Difayat-e Council in Pakistan, Difayat-e Pakistan Council yesterday. It was a meeting organized to show support for Palestine, for the Palestinian cause, and of course to reject the US President's Jerusalem decision. However, the guest of honor and one of the leading voices of the council is Hafiz Saeed. He's a globally designated terrorist, one who's been designated as a terrorist by both the United States, by the United Nations. In fact, he carries a $10 million bounty on his head. This was the individual with whom the Palestinian envoy shared a stage with. India, of course, expressing its deepest concerns and regrets for this situation having taken place. Palestine, of course, has issued an apology thereafter, saying that it's taken serious cognizance of yesterday's attendance by its envoy to this rally, which was held by a council that Mr. Hafiz Saeed is a prominent member of. This development also coming weeks after India, alongside 127 countries, had passed a UN resolution rejecting President Donald Trump's Jerusalem decision. Now, in the news that we're tracking right now, sources are telling WION that Palestine has decided to recall its envoy to Pakistan, the same man who's waving his hand there, who shared the stage with the globally designated terrorist Hafiz Saeed, the man who is the founder of the Lashkar-e-Toiba, the Jamaat-ud-Dawa, the man who has only recently been released from house arrest in Pakistan. Sources are telling WION that Walid Abu Ali is no longer the Palestinian envoy to Pakistan. We're also given to believe that Palestine will be issuing a statement expressing its regret over events from yesterday from Ramallah later today. Joining us live on the broadcast right now for more on that story is WION's correspondent Khalid Shah. Khalid, so it seems that Palestine has taken note of India's deep regret at this situation taking place and has decided to act accordingly.
Well, yes, indeed, a big development and a quick judgment from the Palestinian side to recall back their ambassador who was stationed in Pakistan. This is indeed a significant development because we had seen the kind of reactions this entire meeting had really gotten from the Indian side. The officials at the highest level of MEA are quite miffed with this particular sharing stage of the Palestinian ambassador to Pakistan with globally designated terrorist Hafiz Saeed. It comes at a time when India has indeed reiterated its support for Palestine at United Nations, and we have to also mention the kind of high point that India is seeing with its relations with Israel. Despite that, India decided to choose sides with Palestine, but then the Palestinian ambassador went ahead with this meeting with Hafiz Saeed, which in a sense created some sort of jitters in the Indian side.
Right.
And now the Palestinian side is really wanting to act swiftly and recalling their ambassador back from Palestine. This meeting, which took place yesterday after the Friday prayers in Rawalpindi, where there were hundreds of supporters of Jamaat-ud-Dawa, which is also linked to Lashkar-e-Toiba, a known globally terrorist outfit, which has kind of been accused in the 26/11 Mumbai attack. Not just that, Lashkar-e-Toiba is also believed to have links with other international terror groups like Al-Qaeda. So it does, in a sense...
Allow me to come in, Khalid. Let me just take one question across to Ramesh Ramachandran, who's also with us on the broadcast right now. Ramesh, good evening. Palestine obviously has chosen to take cognizance and, from what we're given to understand, action against its envoy in Pakistan by recalling him. But how do we see this impacting the Prime Minister of India's impending visit to Palestine?
Well, Aisha, a couple of points. Prime Minister Modi's proposed visit to Palestine is very much on the cards. Sources both in New Delhi and Ramallah are telling WION that Prime Minister Modi can be expected to visit Palestine sometime in the month of February. The dates are still being worked out, but the visit is still very much on the cards. Also, that there were plenty of meetings both in New Delhi and Ramallah earlier today. We saw the Palestine's ambassador to India being called to the Ministry of External Affairs here in New Delhi, India conveying its displeasure and condemning the act of the Palestine's ambassador to Pakistan sharing the stage with Hafiz Saeed. In Ramallah, simultaneously, Aisha, India's representative went to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Ramallah and had a meeting with Minister Dr. Riyad Al-Maliki. And we're given to understand that Dr. Riyad Al-Maliki can be expected to issue a statement anytime soon, expressing or reaffirming Palestine's traditional ties with India.
Absolutely. And the fact, Ramesh, that India's choice of words in reaction to what took place yesterday has been rather tempered. It's not at all histrionic, non-high decibel observations of this event yesterday. Does this also indicate in some ways that India is going to take the high ground and decide to sort of look at this from an objective point of view and maintain its, let's say, the relationship that it has for the longest time with both Israel and Palestine?
Well, Aisha, India has a unique distinction of having friendly ties with all countries in the region, in West Asia, including Israel and Palestine. And sources are telling WION that this should be seen as a blip in the relationship. It is not a precipitating issue or crisis as it seems now at the moment, with both sides backing off, relenting on this issue. But the fact remains that this has created an avoidable situation in the India-Palestine ties, especially in light of India's decision to vote for the UNG resolution condemning Trump's decision to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. And India would have expected Pakistan to, reciprocate better, actually.
Absolutely. Stay with me, Ramesh. Khalid, as you were pointing out, Palestine choosing to react almost immediately to India expressing its disappointment at what happened yesterday. But I'm sure that, the public sort of persona or the public way of in which India has chosen to react is perhaps not the same as concerns within powers of corridors in New Delhi over this incident.
Well, yes, indeed, we are seeing the reactions that are coming on social media, particularly Twitter, the kind of debate that has been going on. There are people who are saying that this is, in fact, not the right move that the Palestinians have taken to kind of share stage, not just share stage, but also address the crowd out there in that public meeting where Hafiz Saeed was speaking, and he was indeed talking about the support that they're going to give Jamaat Dawa and his terror outfits to the Palestinian cause. It does seem like that it has come to a situation where Palestine has to choose between the terror outfit Jamaat Dawa and the world's largest democracy. It's a clear-cut distinction, but at the same time, it is a concern for global leaders as well, to Western countries as well, because Lashkar-e-Toiba is not just designated by India, but by other countries as well. It is widely known that they have links with other terror groups like Al-Qaeda, and it has been previously proven through many reports that they do in fact have sleeper cells in some Western country. Clearly not just a concern for India, but for other global powers as well. We'll have to wait and see how India and Israel will really take up this matter, and also other allies of Israel which have kind of shown some sort of adversarial reactions and been critical of Jamaat Dawa and Pakistani terror outfits which are causing havoc in India.
Absolutely. Ramesh, will this raise larger questions also on how Palestine will continue to garner support for its cause, but at the same time they'll have to be careful with who they decide to share stages with whom to hold hands with, to make sure that the organizations and individuals that they're reaching out to aren't inimical to the interests of friendly countries?
Indeed, it's a very valid question to ask, Aisha, and I pose the same question to sources here in New Delhi and even in Ramallah. And they're trying to tell us that this was an inadvertent error of judgment on the part of the ambassador of Palestine to Pakistan, and this should not be seen as something that will precipitate a crisis or upset the relationship in any way going forward. But that said, they say that the ambassador should have known better and known exactly who his host would be, and that he should have taken adequate precaution and not to be seen on the same stage as a UN designated terrorist, Hafiz Saeed. But that said, India and Palestine indicating that they
All right, we're having trouble connecting with Ramesh. We'll try and fix that audio connection. In the meantime, I'll request Khalid to stay on with us. But here's what the defense expert, Mr. Jayadev Ranade, had to say about the issue. Listen in.
By sharing a platform with him, they are actually showing that they are supporting terrorist groups and terrorists themselves. So I think it's a very negative step. Secondly, I will not be surprised if there is a reaction from India, a formal reaction from India. I think the people here are quite upset. Virtually everyone that I have been seeing commenting on it is quite upset. And it is something that the Palestinians will have to, I think, not only regret, but have to show that they regret for.
Right, let me go back to Ramesh Ramachandran and Khalid Shah, both my colleagues who continue to be with us on the broadcast. Ramesh, to you first. Bigger picture, though, when we're looking at India itself, how do you see it maintaining its free and unfettered foreign policy towards, given that it's decided to vote against President Trump's Jerusalem decision and therefore has put itself at odds in some ways to friendly countries like the US and Israel?
Indeed, Aisha. Now, there was a lot of speculation in the lead up to the vote in the UNGA.
Also, he doesn't know that the invitees in general, especially this man. By name, yes, I know him, and he knows him. But as a shape, as a person, no, none of us, before last night, knows that person. Now, the event, it was about Jerusalem, supporting the conference. It was Jerusalem conference, right? And tens of thousands were there. Now, as long as these terrorists are there, it's not accepted to us. Especially, we are supporting India in its fight against terrorism. And because of that, my government directly called our ambassador to go back home, not to be minister to Pakistan, ambassador to Pakistan, ambassador of Palestine to Pakistan anymore.
So, sir, information of the...
No, it could happen. It could happen, especially he doesn't know him. And he doesn't know that he is invited, that he is there. This is the matter.
Do you see a design behind it, sir?
I don't know. I don't want to talk about something I don't know exactly, but he doesn't know him till he starts speaking. When he starts speaking, he asks, who is this person? They told him this, blah, blah, blah. And our ambassador's speech was after him. He made his speech and left. Now for us, even with that, it's not accepted, and for that the decision has been taken from my government.
Sir, our Prime Minister is likely to go to Palestine very soon. Do you think there are some forces who are trying to create this distrust?
Hope not. Mr. Modi is a great guest to Palestine, and we welcome him there, right? And I hope as soon he will visit Palestine, and we are waiting for his visit.
Thank you so much, Excellency, for sparing time and speaking to us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Statement. That was the statement made by Palestine's envoy to India. For those of you who are just joining us, I'll just take you through the important points that he made. He said that Mr. Walid Abu Ali is no longer the envoy to Pakistan. He said that Mr. Ali didn't know who Hafiz Saeed is. He didn't know that Mr. Hafiz Saeed had been invited to the event at which he was yesterday in Rawalpindi. He said that till the time he didn't start speaking, he had no idea that this was Hafiz Saeed. It was only when he inquired to other people gathered there that he was told that the gentleman who was speaking was Hafiz Saeed. Thereafter, the Palestinian envoy to India has clarified, saying that the ambassador to Pakistan decided to make his speech and leave from the venue. He also added, for Palestinians, this is unacceptable, which is why the decision to recall the Palestinian ambassador to Pakistan has been taken by his government. When asked about Mr. Modi's impending visit to Palestine, the ambassador to India said that Mr. Modi is a great guest to Palestine and we're welcoming him there, and that he hopes that he will soon visit Palestine, which is waiting for his visit. So that is the big takeaway from what the Palestinian ambassador to India has just said. Let me go across to my colleagues Ramesh Ramachandran and Khalid Shah. Ramesh, this is obviously a very important statement made by the Palestinian ambassador to India, in many ways trying to clarify some of the points that perhaps India has raised. What do you make of the overall picture that he's drawn about the events as they unfolded yesterday?
Aisha, the ambassador's comments are consistent with what we've been reporting here on WION all day, that both sides, New Delhi and Ramallah, are trying to put this behind them and are keenly looking forward to the visit of Prime Minister Modi to Palestine sometime in the month of February. As I mentioned before, Aisha, both New Delhi and Ramallah are saying that this should not be seen as something that precipitates the relationship, but that this is just a blip in the overall overarching relationship, and that both sides want to put this behind them going forward.
Absolutely. Khalid, given that the ambassador to India just said that his colleague, his counterpart in Pakistan, didn't know who Hafiz Saeed was and was only made aware of Hafiz Saeed's antecedents, so to speak, during the speech that he was making. Do you think that Palestine has tried to mitigate all possible scenarios and all possible impact with its relationship when it comes to India by choosing to recall him, that this was perhaps the harshest possible way in which to deal with this situation?
Well, yes, in fact, Palestinians do seem to be taking the control of narrative. But what the Palestinian side has really said, that the ambassador wasn't really aware that is Hafiz Saeed, might be a little untrue, because we've seen in the pictures he was not just there, he didn't just give a speech, he was also seen in the pictures standing right next to him, raising hands together. He was sitting on the podium with Hafiz Saeed, and not just that, the Palestinian ambassador also offered the Friday namaz out there. That is all in the visuals. We can see it in the visuals that Hafiz Saeed leading the prayers and Palestinian ambassador really in the front row out there. So that is something that we have to point out here. But yes, it does definitely look like that they're taking control of the narrative. But if the Palestinian ambassador was really unaware that this is Hafiz Saeed or Hafiz Saeed would be present out there, it was indeed a very poor research and groundwork done by the Palestine's embassy out there in Pakistan, because Hafiz Saeed is a globally known face, is a globally known figure. At least the officials out there in the Palestinian embassy should have known that this is what is going to happen, should have at least known that Defy Pakistan is an organization which is associated with Hafiz Saeed, and should have known their antecedents and what their activities are like.
Absolutely. So clearly, Ramesh, is also appearing damage control by Palestine. But overall, I mean, Palestine has more to lose from this gaffe than India does.
Seems with the benefit of hindsight, Palestine should have known better, especially the envoy in Pakistan should have known better not to share a stage with a UN designated terrorist, Hafiz Saeed. But that said, Palestinian sources are telling WION that they want to reaffirm their traditional ties with India, and that India and Palestine enjoy civilizational ties consistent with their historical trajectories, respective trajectories, and that they look forward to receiving Prime Minister Modi when he indeed visits Ramallah sometime in February.
Absolutely. Ramesh, one last question though. Critics of Mr. Modi's foreign policy will pick up on this though, especially given that India chose to side with Palestine in many ways at the UN resolution against the Jerusalem decision.
Very much so, Aisha. Sources are telling WION that probably in hindsight, India should have voted differently. But that said, India says India's position is consistent with its independent foreign policy, which will not be dictated by third parties or third countries. Strategic autonomy is something which India wants to preserve and propagate going forward as well, and that India enjoys good ties with both Israel and Palestine. And this one vote should not be seen as a zero-sum game. That means for Palestine or against Israel. That India wants that this issue to be resolved amicably by both Israel and Palestine, especially the issue of Jerusalem.